Well, hello to everybody. This is Chris Voisey. I am with the Blue Frontier Path Academy, acting as an interviewer on this particular occasion. My job is a voice coach and a presentation skills facilitator. That's what I do. And I have some programs running on the Blue Frontier Path platform. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce Takalani Malivha, who is a new person involved with the Blue Frontier Path Academy, and we're going to be talking to her and just getting a little bit more idea of who she is and what she brings to the party. So a big welcome to you, Takalani.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for having me.
It's a great pleasure. It's very nice to have you. There seems to be a little bit of a slight delay on our recording this afternoon. I'm not sure why, but we'll just be talking to each other. So we'll proceed as per normal. So, Takalani, tell us something. Just give us a little bit of background about yourself. And you could talk to us about your qualifications or your education or your work experience. But what I really want to know is what drives you as a human being?
Mhm. That's a great question. So I am trained as an economist as well as psychology. I have a great interest in many different things and have practiced in many different subfields, but mainly I am an entrepreneur, and that is where you'll find me most of the day, most of the time. I run a data consultancy, and that pulls from many different fields where people want to use data for more effective decision making and more impact within their professional lives, within their personal lives as well. What drives me in simple terms, the ability to connect the dots. I feel that we are blessed in a way, privileged to have a lot of information at our hands, a lot of people who are well informed, who can make a difference in our lives. And I like to help people connect the dots between people, information, in order to have that impact that they desire.
Well, that's a fantastic answer. Thank you. I really like that because I feel that it ties in so well with the Blue Frontier Path Academy, because essentially, what is this academy? You know, it's kind of there very much to do what you are talking about doing, which is to help people connect the dots.
Mm,
Education is not an easy thing, particularly in our country at the moment. And
yeah.
we're at all different levels. We're trying to get access to what we need, and I think that the Blue Frontier Path Academy is there to open doors of understanding, if I could put it
Mhm.
that way, to play the role almost as like a mentor to help people make sense of whatever the education is that they're going through, whether that's a maths learner or whether that's an MBA student or someone doing their master's degree. You know, it's at all those different levels. So when you say you're an entrepreneur, have you always been an entrepreneur?
I think in spirit, yes, I've always been an entrepreneurial person,
Hmm.
and have exercised aspects of entrepreneurship at different stages of my life. Obviously, as a formality, it became more tangible once I kind of left the education realm, and it made sense for me that past the internships and past my first job, I definitely wanted to kind of take all the information that I had, all that had been invested in me through my education, to kind of go into entrepreneurship. It started off in kind of one realm, has moved on to another, but right now I think I've really found my footing within data consultancy.
Hmm. Tell us a little bit about your educational background, Takalani. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I am born and raised right here in South Africa, but I've had the privilege of having educational experiences that are quite international. So starting towards the end of my high school years, which would be perhaps an equivalent of grade 11 and 12, I had an opportunity to go to an institution that kind of trains young people in African studies, in entrepreneurship, as well as in leadership. Our teachers were very much international. Our student base was very much international as well. And so I got a lot of training that was more hands-on, outside of the typical high school experience right there in Johannesburg. Following that, I moved to Texas, where I did my undergraduate, like I said, in economics and psychology, and then came back to do my master's in economics.
Wow, that's absolutely fantastic. I'm fascinated by
Mhm.
that exposure to African leadership or finding what are the ways we need to do things in Africa that really
Hmm.
work, and that open up
Yeah.
other avenues that we might not even have thought were there before.
Yeah, I think in general, it's very easy to fall into a place where you're despondent about what's happening and what could be. But if you start young, which we were kind of had that exposure at a very young age, to understand that it is possible to have a different way of being, a different way of thinking, and a different way of applying your skills and knowledge, you, in a sense, can reverse the brain drain, but also just kind of change the perspective of what everyday people can do to impact their lives, impact those around them, and build better communities in general.
Yeah, I'm a good friend of mine based in KZN. She's into this whole concept of unlearning. And I find
Mm-hmm.
that really interesting because,
Yeah.
so much of what we need to do, we need to have an open mind. We need to almost have an unstudied mind to find
Yeah.
new ways that we're going to approach what is a very new and sometimes rather terrifying world.
Yeah.
We need new ways to do that. And sometimes that requires, well, particularly someone of my sort of age, you're much younger, but all of us have that. We have a tendency to slot
Mm-hmm.
into a more conservative way of thinking because it's almost
Yeah.
attached to our upbringing. Whereas in fact, what we need to
Mm-hmm.
do is constantly be looking at things in a new way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, most certainly. I think there is a lot that happens within our formative years. We might not understand that is what's happening, but ways of being, understanding what culture means, what's kind of some of the norms that we kind of get used to. A lot of that happens within that early stage of life. So if you can have people who are proactive about engaging with young people and almost introducing a new way of thinking, you reduce the amount of unlearning that needs to happen, but unlearning itself needs to continuously happen because as the world changes, as our needs change, we need to change as well. And so unlearning is very important, probably hard because of that kind of conditioning that happens much earlier on. But if we're able to engage young people, which I had the privilege of being engaged with at that young age, it makes the necessity for that much lower and opens up an opportunity for many young people to just imagine a new world outside of a norm that might have been established for a long time.
Absolutely.